When it came down to making a video about the history of Oi, I had to decide, do I want to do a brief overview or do I want to actually get right down to details? It was hard for me to decide, so I guess we are going to fall somewhere in the middle. It's really hard to capture an entire genre like Oi into one short video, but I guess I'm going to try. So with the initial first wave of punk, by 1978, slowly fading into a mundane, mediocre wasteland of art kids playing a watered-down, sad excuse of punk rock, it was inevitable that there needed to be a new life kicked into it. That's exactly what Oi music did.
Punk basically started out manufactured, by Malcolm McLaren, who was a very clever man. He got the Sex Pistols together, and they were a great rock band. And from out of that, a lot of punk bands grew, bands like The Clash and that. Then you got the second wave, the angelic upstarts, bands like Cockney Rejects and that. But also
that's where punk started.
Yeah, you got like the Posey type of bands coming up as well. And I prefer the word street punk, to be honest. It was a sort of a backlash against that.
It was harder punk rock. It was street level.
Talking about
punk
things
rock.
you want to hear.
And it was all involved with football. The boys were like watching West Ham or Chelsea or Millwall, whatever team they was watching, and they'd go afterwards and go and see a show, and it'd be what we felt was a proper punk show.
Oi music was the new face of punk rock, and it was apparent from the start that it would take punk rock back to its roots. Bands like The Clash, who have at this stage become very rich, living in mansions, singing songs about a white riot, didn't exactly click with the street kids anymore. So out of this frustration and lack of authenticity, bands like Sham 69, Cockney Rejects, Cockspur,
Because you're young, sharp as a knife, you need that buzz to come
and the Foreskins started to form and to take punk rock back to its working class roots. With influences coming from the first initial wave of punk bands, as well as football chants, pub rock, and lyrical themes revolving around unemployment, life on the dole, football, and street life in general.
Luckily, that the football scene, it was the football scene that took it all back over for the Oi scene.
The name Oi itself was actually taken from the Cockney Rejects song Oi 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 and applied to the bands by Gary Bushell, who at the time was working for Sounds magazine. He basically championed his own scene.
Gary basically championed his own scene, so to speak, because the likes of Sham 69, the Rejects, particularly with like the newer, because Sham was still classed as sort of part of the original wave, as Sparrow were. And then the Rejects came through, Angelic Upstarts, Foreskins, Business, Last Resort, Infant Riot, bands like that came through, and Gary actually championed his own scene.
Well, at that time, in 1980, it was a real excitement around because we were in the grips of a real renewal. It wasn't so much a revival, it was a renewal. There was a lot of bands about, and they were getting back to what the basics of what punk was supposed to be about, because a lot of the punk bands, the first wave of punk bands, have been complete hypocrites and living a lie. They were claiming to be going on about being working class and from tower blocks, of course, and they was all coming from middle class suburbia.
This led to the birth of the very first Oi compilation album under the name Oi the Album.
This is what I want!
Which was released in 1980 on EMI Records. A few years in, the genre became smothered in controversy after a 1981 Foreskins gig in Southall, London. After the show, there was essentially a riot followed by a lot of media backlash, leading to a ton of negative press and accusations of racism, even though many of the bands, including the Foreskins themselves, denied any connection to racist politics. The 1981 release of Strength Through Oi didn't help that cause by any means, given the controversy regarding that release as well. You guys can resort back to my video I did on that release for details. This is around the time things began to shift in the Oi scene, and by 1982, Oi music started to become more of a skinhead-based genre, keeping the football chant, choruses, and working-class themes, whereas bands like The Blood and The Exploited, who were once associated with the genre, started to form a line between themselves and Oi music. By the early to mid-80s, that line between the two was very apparent, and some bands who were once associated with it were not really considered Oi anymore as much as they were under the UK 82 umbrella. At this point, Oi music had reached far beyond the country of England, and Oi bands were popping up all over the world. A couple of examples of this would be Iron Cross from the USA, Nabbit from Italy, and Cobra from Japan. With strong Oi scenes in the States as well as many other countries, Oi music had firmly planted its feet in the ground, and foundation was set for so many great bands all over the world to build upon. Oi music is as strong now as it ever has been, with bands and scenes from almost every country, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon, even nearly 50 years later.
United! The voice of Oi is calling you, with a message that is true. Punky Herbert, straighten skin, all of you, come on in. Cause Oi's for skins and Oi's for punks. It's fun and fury, it's urban funk. Yeah, the voice of Oi is unity. The beat of the street is you and me. United is the thing to be. Think how strong we can be. United against society.